Well, I'm going to read to you one of the most difficult passages in all of the New Testament, let alone First Peter. It's somewhat confusing, it's hard to understand, etc., etc. It goes rather deep. So here it is, 1 Peter 3:18. It says, "For Christ also suffered once for sins, the righteous for the unrighteous, that he might bring us to God, being put to death in the flesh, but made alive in the spirit." Woohoo! We get that. That is straightforward, no problem. Yes. Then it says this, in which he went and proclaimed to the spirits in prison, because they formerly did not obey when God's patience waited in the days of Noah. Okay. While the ark was being prepared, in which a few, that is 8 persons, were brought safely through the water. Baptism, which corresponds to this, now saves you, not as a removal of dirt from the body, it's not a one-time removal thing, but as an appeal to God for a good conscience. Through the resurrection of Jesus Christ, that's the triumph, who has gone into heaven, is at the right hand of God with angels, authorities, and powers having been made subjected to him. So beginning, woo, ending, woo, middle, it's a very difficult passage. It's certainly a lot about the saving work of Christ and what he did, but it brings up these questions about, well, okay, he went down to hell, place of the dead, Sheol, Hades, whatever you want to call it, and he preached to, well, we don't really know for sure who, but there's a lot of theories. I think the first century readers were probably more clear about it than we are today, even because they had the same backdrop that Peter had. They read the same ancient books that Peter was very familiar with, the Jewish people were very familiar with in the first century. I'm speaking about the book of Enoch, and we quoted that out of Jude. Remember, Jude quoted Enoch, and we talked about Enoch. The people understood the concepts from the stories of Enoch, and in general, we know that Peter talks about Christ's patient suffering, and that's an example to them for sure in the persecution and things they had to face, interrogations day by day. And he also talked about his great triumphant victory at the resurrection that had to give them courage when they were facing those things too. So, like I said, no doubt the first century readers, they probably understood a little clearer than we do even today, because they had the same sort of background and the same worldview as Peter had. Martin Luther, he writes this in his commentary, "A wonderful text is this, and more obscure passage perhaps than any other in the New Testament, so I don't know for a certainty just what Peter means." So Peter's got this backdrop that he's using out of the book of Enoch. He understands that people generally know what he's talking about. We don't nowadays so much because we don't read the book of Enoch. Not much anyway, but some people do. But it was well known in his day by the Jewish believers. And the early church understood that in the book of Enoch, there are some stories there. One particular story where Enoch is in the place of the dead, right? What happened to him when God took him? He walked with God and then was not. And where did he go? Well, he went to the place of the dead. And that in the book of Enoch, he's talking to the fallen angels that are in prison there. And they're basically saying, hey, Enoch, we know that you and God are tight, right? So why don't you just go to God, ask him for a little mercy for us, ask him that to let us free, we'll be good, we promise. And Enoch says, okay, I'll ask. And so he goes and he talks to God, and God says, no, because I'm not changing my mind on this. No, because what I say I will do. No, their judgment is still on them. They're in there till the judgment day, basically. That's kind of the end of the story, except Enoch goes back down there and says, God said, no, you're stuck here. And then he says, what he knows about this is that it says these words, Enoch descended into hell or Sheol and preaches basically, or talks to the prisoners there. So Peter knows that that's the background. People knew this. about the place of the dead, the place of the unseen realm, so to speak, the prison of Tartarus, which was mentioned in 2 Peter 2:4, talks about the prison of Tartarus. Tartarus is the Greek word meaning the place of the wicked dead. So he says that when Jesus dies, he went in the place of the dead as well. He goes down there to the underworld, and basically he says this. So Peter's saying, essentially, Jesus is coming in saying, "Hey, it's me. Surprised to see me? I don't think you were expecting me, because that means I'm dead. And that means you might think you won, but you don't win, because I'm only here for a couple days, man. And then I am rising again to live forevermore, and you're staying here. That's right, you're staying here. You're going to be here till the end of time. Maybe you're going to be released for a little while, but you're going to be done away with forever and ever." So Jesus is kind of coming in there with this, like, told you so attitude of preaching to them. That's one way to look at it. So there are other views. Some of the other views are like ones that Jesus, he descended into hell, preached to the spirits of those who perished in the flood. And people have a take on that he's given them another chance to repent, to hear the gospel from Jesus' own lips, and to repent, give him another chance. Then there's another one that says that he proclaimed to these dead spirits in this attitude of "I told you so," and then there's some say he's preaching to the righteous dead, saying, "Hey, your freedom has been purchased. You are going to be free forever." So there's a number of different theories. At the end of the day, all I can say is I don't really know. I kind of lean into the attitude of him coming down there and going, "It's me, surprise, but I'm going to be alive forevermore." All I know was that I was dead, and now I'm alive. I was blind, now I see. I was in prison, but now I'm free forevermore. That's what I know. So whether he preached the good news to the prisoners of Sheol, or came down with a bit of an attitude, or I don't know all those details, but what I do know and I revel in is what Peter said at the end, when he says that now Jesus has gone into heaven, and all the angels of God, all the authorities, all the powers are made subject to him. Subject to him. He is the Lord of glory. He is one I can follow. He is one that I can worship. He has won the day. And that's my Jesus. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.